So I get the opportunity and the privilege to introduce these two gentlemen, and I've had opportunity to work with them for more, I was going to say 4 years since I've been a county commissioner, but it's gone before that, being a resident of Harker Heights myself and growing up in Harker Heights and seeing their predecessors and all the work that we've done and being some part of that as well. These guys have taken up that yoke and moved forward ever since they've gotten here, and I certainly appreciate them. And so I had a few things as an Aggie to say about introducing a Longhorn here, but the mayor said, look, he's a retired Marine. I don't want to get hurt. And so I said, well, how about some accolades? He said, no, you don't need to do that. He's also humble, and he doesn't like to blush. So as a Marine, they don't like to see that either. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce both these guys at the same time, Mayor Spencer Smith and our city manager, David Mitchell, to give you the State of the City address.
We are super excited, as always, to share the many good works that are going on in Harker Heights. I could spend all day talking about our staff, but I'll just summarize it as I'm extremely proud of the staff that we have at the city and how they serve you, I think, every day. I'm sorry? Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm super excited about our staff and what they do for you every day, and I think if you got a chance to know them and see them, and if you've met them, you are be equally excited about the staff that we have and the good work that they're doing in the city. We're going to hit the ground running. I know time is of the essence today, so we'll move to our first slide, and we're going to take a little bit of a look back at something that was a major event for Harker Heights and many cities in our area, and that was the winter storm and its damage to our roadways. Being someone that grew up in the Deep South, I never had been through an event quite like that. I did not know it damaged roads the way that it did, so it was an educational experience for me. In fact, my own boys came back one day and said, Dad, your roads are falling apart, and I said, no, that's just dirty ice that you're seeing. And no, it was not. It was asphalt that they were seeing pushed up by the freeze. So we focused our work on the collector streets. You will see here we invested $3.8 million in repairs to those roadways. Significant. Did we repair them all? No, we did not. We repaired the worst ones, we hope, of that. We had some other streets as well that we did some subgrade and concrete stabilization on. Again, that major storm did major damage to our roadways, not only ours, other cities' roadways as well. And this, I'll tell you, is one of the things that's important to have reserves. When you have events that come up like this, that's what your reserves are for. We have very healthy reserves in the city of Harker Heights, enabled us to take a look, get these roads up about $3.8 million without it overstressing the budget or having to go back to the taxpayers to ask for additional dollars. So extremely proud of our staff's work on that and extremely proud to get those streets back up and going. And I think we're just about to the conclusion, not quite complete, but just about to the conclusion on those roadways. With that, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Okay, next slide. This is one of the projects we're very proud of. Those of you who travel on Warriors Path, again, that's a primary route from people that are moving over trying to get to I-10, or if they're going ahead and coming the other way and try to go east on 2410, especially during the mornings. But again, this is a project that we worked through Walker Partners, and again, the total cost on that was a little over $2.6 million, but that was a joint effort that we had not only from the city of Harker Heights, city of Nolanville, and KISD as far as coming together to put that together. Again, a lot of the things that we do here, we have to have a regional perspective on things, have good relationships with the county, and also with other municipal governments. So we've got a short video we'd like to show you that covered this, and if you can roll the video.
Originally constructed to county standards, development in the area has greatly increased vehicular demand on the road. The roadway is also projected in the long term to provide access from Interstate 14 to FM 2410. When this occurs, Warriors Path will provide north-south collector that will reduce traffic congestion on FM 2410.
Our relationship with KISD is very close. We have historically supported the many activities in all of the campuses which are located in Harker Heights. The widening of Warriors Path was a significant engineering project The improvement of the Warriors Path roadway, the addition of sidewalks, and the installation of important drainage features have created a safe environment for the students, faculty, employees, and others to perform their duties at an impressive new campus. I look forward to seeing the middle school flourish as KISD and Harker Heights move forward.
We knew and have known we were absolutely going to need to bring on an additional middle school to accommodate 1,300 middle school students. We knew that we were going to need to have the infrastructure in place to be able to support the school site. So we began immediately working with our very gracious partners, really thinking forward and build once, saving taxpayers dollars and not having to build twice. I don't think that we could define a better working relationship than the New Noah Middle School and the Warriors Path project with the City of Harker Heights on budget, in time. I think everything from engineering to planning to implementation and construction came together really, really nicely. And as a result, not only do we have a very beautiful, functioning new middle school campus, but we also have the supporting infrastructure that will serve that area of our district and, of course, the community of Harker Heights very well.
We had to build a foundation for cross-border. That was a significant part of trying to hold the road together in the future for the longevity of the road. The second one would be the box culvert. The culvert was a 5-barrel. It was massive. The school right to the west of us has the same problem with water. And so they were pumping water to us continuously since we got on the job. So we had to try to negate that water, which was a challenge. The electrical lines, when they had to relocate the electrical lines for the project, which all the utilities had to slide farther out. We had to crane the boxes were like 25,000 pounds a piece. And we've got to try to get these boxes basically right under the high line. I like working with Harker Heights, and although they are involved in their job, they will come out and help to make a decision. The responsiveness was excellent. They came and got out there on site, which keeps me moving.
We had a very short timeline to get it done, and it's really one of the most successful projects, teamwork-wise, I think, of any I've ever participated in my career. The unique aspect of this project was we had a substantial drainage way that we had to convey through the project or beneath the roadway, and we spent considerable effort in analyzing the drainage basin upstream. We worked to make sure that the water surface that we had at the roadway crossing was at or below the existing 100-year storm event, and that was important because KISD was building a school immediately upstream adjacent to the project. And across that drainage way on the other side, the developer has future plans, so we did not want to create upstream headwater that would inundate additional areas. The finished project actually lowered the water surface about a half a foot from what the existing condition is. The MPO funding, instead of that 3 to 5 years down the road, we'll be able to do the entire project, and it will be fully reconstructed all the way from 2410 to Ono Road. This project included an 8-foot wide sidewalk pedestrian path along the west side, and the plans in the future will include its connectivity to other KISD schools, the city park, and all of the future trails that are planned from Belton all the way to the city of Killeen.
We are proud to partner with KISD and the city of Millville to provide this roadway improvement for our citizens. The city's vision is to provide public services that empower people to focus on what matters most, their goals, hopes, and dreams. We are excited to provide this improvement to Warriors Path, as we know it will serve our citizens and visitors well for many years.
Here, we got the audio switched over. Good on audio? So next slide. All right, we talked a little bit about winter storms, and that was kind of a surprise to us in terms of the amount of damage it did. Mayor just talked about our Warriors Path project and the huge success that we have there. But as you can see, Harker Heights, we spend a lot of dollars on our infrastructure. Here, another street project. This is our annual street project, and I think the mayor will speak about another project, the 2023 annual street project coming up. But you can see here some roadways that we are working on. That's about $1 million investment in those roadways. I can tell you as a city, we should probably be spending around $2 million a year to maintain our roadways now. With inflation, that number actually may be even higher than that. Due to constraints in our budget, $1 million is kind of where we're at, but I'm extremely proud of our council. They've been committed every year to continuing that street maintenance program, and that's not something that you often see cities so committed to. Harker Heights has been committed to that for years and years, and I think it does show in our streets. Not that we have some that need repair, we do, but the council is committed each year to allotting monies to repair our roadways. And so this is our 2022 street program. It is still ongoing, nearing completion.
Okay, this item is going to deal with our sidewalks. It's been a lot of attention along there on 3481. Okay, that's where that extends, where the high school is, where Verna Lee, and then you got 3481 going south. Again, we're looking for the 1.7 miles. That cost is going to be $900,000. It's that important, though, for the safety of our students or for any other pedestrians or for people that are out exercising. And that's one of the things on the sidewalks that we're trying to improve throughout the city, especially where we have new construction. So again, a lot of attention on Verna Lee as well that's related to sidewalks. The other thing that I would encourage you and everybody that you know is obey the posted speed limits there. We've got people that are going down there. We can't control their ankle, but we've had them go up we've had one citizen, they've had speeders that have taken out his fence twice. He's really not a happy camper. But the fact is that I go down that road, try to keep my vehicle at 30 miles an hour, and I got people going by me like I'm standing still. So that's something the city, we ask you to do that. PD asks you to do that, is to have people to be good citizens, not only in your neighborhood, but again, and yourself as you drive through the city of Harker Heights. So these sidewalks are really important. It's another thing that we've committed to as the council. And again, when Mayor Robinson was the mayor, that was another focus that we have. I think that's something that really draws people in, especially in residential areas, but also during commercial areas where we can put sidewalks in. It's very important for the overall growth of the city of Harker Heights.
All right, let's talk a little bit about a couple other things unrelated to roadways in this case, but a couple of things that we've done in this last year was a citizen survey that we got Texas State University assisted us with that. That gave the council and our staff a lot of great feedback from our citizens on their desires and their needs in the community, and those things are used in both our planning departments as well as in our budgeting in terms of trying to deliver the services that our citizens desire. A big one that I do want to point out here, though, the citizen alert system. If you are not on that system, please go to our website. It's very easy. If you go to our website, a lot of times it's the first pop-up that comes up there, encouraging you to sign up for that. This notification system, as you see here, allows citizens to sign up through, you can get emails or text messages. So if we send out an important alert, be it on weather or a road closure or anything along those lines that you may want to know, you will get it in an email or text format, and you can select how you would like to receive it, and as well as what type of updates you would like to get, whether it be like if you want to know Parks and Rec programs, for instance, we can make sure we push those out to you, or if you just want emergency notifications, we can push those out to you as well. You can see we've got about 3,100 subscribers. We need to increase that. So please, if you have not already signed up for that, please do. It's a very important system, again, for us to communicate with you should we have emergencies in the city. And if you'd like general information, you certainly can sign up for that as well.
Okay, we don't have a video on this one because we haven't broken ground yet, but it's coming close, and hopefully we can get that for another show and tell for later on. But Warriors Path Phase 2 is going to go from FM 2410 all the way to Pontotoc. So basically it's going to connect with the southern portion of Warriors Path improvement that you just saw the video on. Again, that will definitely help the city as far as the the safety of the people that are traveling on that road. Again, as population increases, we'll have a lot of residential development on the west side of Warriors Path, as well as our neighbors in Nolanville. There's a lot of growth going on out there. So again, from a safety standpoint, that's we're going to really have to widen that road. The other thing that we'll be looking at is having a traffic light at 2410, where the intersection of Warriors Path is. Again, we've had a lot of citizens that live out there. We've already lowered the speed limit, especially people coming from east to west, because we've got that hump there as you're coming, approaching Warriors Path. So again, it's a safety issue, so more to come on that. But again, including the engineering, that's going to be a $4.2 million project that we'll do. Again, we work with KTMPO, which is the Killeen Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization. We work really close with them, and again, because of our Public Works, our city manager, that we're able to bring these things forward. Being a member of the Transportation Policy Planning Board over there in Belton, is I can let you know, because of our ability to be prepared to go forward on these projects, that's helped us to rise up in the priority, and this is just one example of that. So again, more to come on Warriors Path Phase 2.
All right, sticking with roadways here. This one I know is probably a big one for many of you. I've probably read many articles in the Killeen Daily Herald about this. Chaparral Roadway. We have an MOU that is signed between the City of Killeen, Bell County, the City of Harker Heights, and as well as KISD has participated in that. The big lift on this roadway is the dollar amount that it's going to take to complete it. I mean, originally I believe some of the numbers were around the low 20s, 20 million. I suspect that'll be 30 million or north of 30 million before it's done. There's a large bridge project bringing it up out of the flood zone that will need to be a part of this, as well as a lot of drainage improvements along that route. To that end, you see the bottom bullet point I have there, K-Tempo, as the mayor mentioned earlier. There's funding for phase 1. That phase is over in Killeen, going from like 195 over to a point. So that one doesn't really impact us here in Harker Heights in terms of phase 1. But there is a federal grant that Killeen is pursuing, and Harker Heights is supporting them in that would bring additional dollars to this project, and perhaps, if we get that, speed up the timeline, or it definitely would speed up the timeline. I don't know what the total dollar amount of that grant will be, if it would be enough to complete the entire project, but it certainly would speed up this project. Without those dollars and the way it's being phased in, we're looking at a number of years before we probably get to the Harker Heights section. Again, this is something that's needed today in terms of the traffic flow. You have the new Chaparral High School you're familiar with down Chaparral Road, and the rezonings and things that will occur. There will be more Harker Heights students using that roadway to go over to that school. And I know KISD has planned for a middle school as well to go out that way. So there will be continued traffic generators out there, as well as, if you know this area of Killeen, a lot of development going on in that area. So Chaparral Road is one that, as it sits today, needs to be addressed. And the alignment that you see here is not meant to portray, that's kind of how the alignment is today. I do know that they're looking at trying to take out some of those sharp curves in this roadway with the proposed alignment. But again, I haven't seen anything yet in terms of it being finalized. The proposed alignment does take out those curves. This is just the way the road sits today. So this alignment could change in the final design.
Continuing on for 2023, as far as our street improvements, and these roads that you see up there are primarily on our northern side of town. And again, if you've driven up there lately, you need to be careful, because the roads still need to be repaired. But the other fact is the growth in that part of town, if you haven't been up there, is the growth in that part of town as far as residential is incredible. Some of the things that we were able to do up there, the transition, I don't know whether we're going to talk to that on this or not, but just Lynn Drive, which is a long fought project that we have to get that cleared. We've got a wonderful developer that's come in there and builder that, again, that's really made that a wonderful thing as we look north of VMB and what's going on in that part of Harker Heights. But again, just like our normal investments, again, we're looking at $1 million, again, to repair those roads up there to provide that service to the citizens who live up there. Next slide.
So we kind of led off with a lot of our projects that you see: roadways, sidewalks, things that are, you can see them. They're the exciting projects. These not so much, right? These are our budgeted water, wastewater, and drainage projects. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that we have an investment coming up about $5.3 million, and over the last 2 budget cycles, $11.5 million spent in upkeeping our infrastructure. And I'll tell you, that's just as critical as the things that you see above ground, that we have quality water, sewer, drainage, things of that nature. And so I want to make sure I included this slide to let you know that your city council is fully aware of the need to maintain those things, and they do commit dollars each budget cycle. As you can see here over the last 2, 11.5, a significant investment in maintaining those assets that we have under the ground that we don't see but are equally as necessary as the streets and the sidewalks that we use. Mayor.
And again, continuing on as far as sidewalks, again, that you can see these areas. There's sidewalk grant for Indian Trail, for Beeline, for Pima. So again, Eastern Hill Middle School and Nolan Middle School. Again, those are important to be able to have those, again, for the safety of the students, but also for any of the pedestrians in our city that walk to HEB, or for any of the businesses that are along that area, especially along Beeline and Indian Trail Drive. So again, that investment, including the grants that we'll get, that's $5 million that we'll be having. And again, the other thing that we have coming forward that's more recent is our wastewater treatment plant expansion. So again, many of you know that our sewer treatment is down near the Summit ball fields down there north of the VMB. And again, we're approaching a point where we need to be looking to expand that plant or to be able to have an alternative. And so recently we've had another alternative that had been provided to us, whereas the expansion of the north plant would have cost about $40 million to be able to do that. Again, working with WCID, number one, we're looking at a potential to use the south plant down there off of Chaparral Road, which will cost us about $13.6 million. So again, that we've got a significant cost saving for our wastewater treatment for the citizens of Harker Heights.
We talked earlier, again, we talked about roads, we talked about the things that we don't see underneath the roadways that are equally as important. And I would tell you this one's at the top of the list, but I put this slide in just to let you know that council is fully involved in all these areas you see here. We have a new fire department ladder truck that will be shortly delivered to the city. We have as well a new ambulance, a much needed ambulance. We've had a lot of issues with our current ambulances just with the workload. I mean, we've got a growing city. Those ambulances stay in use all day long, so we've got a new ambulance coming in. As well as those that don't know, we recently hired a new police chief. That's big news for Harker Heights. Mike Gentry was our chief for many, many years, I think over 20, and then Chief Gadd was his assistant, took over for him, was it there for like 5 or 6 more. So it's a big transition for Harker Heights, transitioning to a new chief. We have one on staff who has grown up in the organization, and that's Chief Patel Hawkins. If you haven't got a chance to meet Hawk, I would tell you he is. You will enjoy every minute you spend with him. He's a great individual, and he's doing great things leading our police department. As well as a big one for us that has been a hard one for us to figure out how to accomplish is the planning of Fire Station number 3. Not so much the planning or the equipment or the building. I think we could figure out a way to fund those things. The issue for the city will be the ongoing expense of staffing one of those. Probably in today's dollars, we're probably looking closer to $1.5 million a year in staffing. And that's been a constraint for us, but that's something that the city continues to look forward to planning for. We do need that. We have areas of the city that our response times are just not acceptable. We've been very open and transparent about that, and this is an attempt to address that issue. So.
Well, this is the fun one, the fun slide. Many of you all have heard about Proposition A. So you'll be seeing Proposition A 2.0 on the ballot again come May. And we understand that many people desire to have small amounts of marijuana legalized. We simply do not have the authority as the city of Harker Heights to grant that desire. That power resides at the state. And the state legislature's in session, and they're having a lot of discussions about that. But again, when this thing came to the council and the city, as far as to look at it, this breaks down. There are two words that people need to understand: state law and oath. The mayor, the council, all the police department, we take an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Texas. Okay, this marijuana, it's illegal. If they want it to be changed, they need to go to Austin and pursue that there. There are other aspects that, again, with this Proposition A, that I would encourage not only you, but everybody that you know, when somebody approaches you with a proposition, read the whole thing, okay? This thing, the way it worked out, what you were doing is that you're undermining your police to enable them to go ahead and do their duty. Okay, I got a problem with that, and many other people do. But again, to understand, one, we don't want to undercut our police. Again, we've said in the past, we can sleep well in our beds at night knowing that they're on the job. Okay, and we need to support them. We have a wonderful police department that they're recognized throughout the state for the quality of people and the service that they provide to us. The other part of this is the disabled veterans exemption, so that we have 100% disabled veterans don't pay property taxes. Okay, the way the city is able to fund all these things we've shown you, all these millions and millions of dollars, is through property taxes and through sales tax on what we get back from the state. So what this is, in this legislation, although it was very altruistic and very honorable to recognize 100% disabled veterans, so them, and then subsequent to that, so their surviving spouse, that they don't have to pay property taxes, is the legislature didn't understand, I think, the long-range impact and the unfunded consequences, and this is unsustainable. This year, it's $3.2 million that we don't get. $3.2 million, as the city manager just said, that'll buy you a new fire station. The people who live in that part of town, that'll help lower their rates, that'll help lower the response time for not only fire, but for ambulance. So again, that's the direct impact on Harker Heights. The only other city by ratio of the impact in the whole state of Texas, and there are 26 municipalities that are impacted by this, the only other city that's more adversely impacted than Harker Heights is Nolanville, is a percentage of income. Okay, so this is something that we need to be aware of. I encourage you to study that. We've got traction this time around. Hopefully we'll get it further down the road. Our Representative Hugh Shine has filed a bill, and our new Senator Pete Flores has also filed a bill. Our staff is in constant contact with them, but we've also made people aware that I've personally briefed Lieutenant General Bernabe. The city staff came up with a point paper. We updated the information that we provided to Lieutenant General White. The fact is that they need to know about this in case somebody brings this up, okay? Because it affects their soldiers and their families. Over 70% of the soldiers that are stationed at Fort Hood, they live outside the gate. Many of them live in Harker Heights. So when they go downrange to do the things to defend our country, they can rest comfortably knowing that the city of Harker Heights is going to take care of their families and their children, okay? Parks and Rec, police department, fire, those types of things, EMT, we're going to take care of them so they can take care of the city's business or the country's business when they come back to the city. So again, I would encourage you to, as you have the ability to talk to those that you have influence on, to be able to understand this. And again, I've talked to the DAV, the American Legion, all of those folks, disabled American veterans. The thrust of this is not to take the benefit away. It's basically get the state to even the playing field on this so we don't have this disproportionate impact from this legislation that they've had. So we're looking to have some success on that. We anticipate making trips down, as we've done in years past, to go down and make testimony, have testimony for some of the boards that are down there in the Texas legislature. And again, anybody have a chance. I was fortunate to have a dinner meeting with some representatives from Senator Cruz's staff, so I got to put push that across to them, okay? We've had our new representative that will represent part of the city of Harker Heights, Representative August Pfluger, who's our new U.S. representative, and he and his staff, we've been able to brief him personally that they've been in our conference room in Harker Heights. Congressman Carter, his office, they understand this as well. So not only do we look at this thing, not only talking to our state representatives, but our U.S. representatives and representatives from the United States Army, again, that make them aware of, again, AUSA representatives, that they're very aware of this thing. We want them to be aware. We don't know that they have leverage, because we're really, where the rubber meets the road, this has to be changed down in Austin. So again, that's probably the major point that we have, is dealing with this DAV exemption.
All right, let's talk a little bit about economic development. Mayor mentioned earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on Lynn Drive, but I would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to go up there and take a look at that area. That area is transitioning quickly from what was up there, extremely blighted area where we did not have owners that assisted us very much. You see, it was a 20-year process, and some of those years, many of those years, we were in court, went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court where the city prevailed. And then an additional lawsuit that came after that he tried to stop us from being able to tear down some of those structures. But long story short, we have a 380 economic development agreement with a local developer to go back in and redo that, and he's working on that. And that area is transitioning quickly, so if you get a chance to go up there, and that's one of the reasons we're going to spend about $1 million on the roadways up there to enhance that. But also just want to point out some of the new development here. I know we got Clear Sky sitting up front up here, extremely proud to have them in the city. Of course, we got Chewy's, Black Bear Diner, Gambit Social House, as well as I will tell you about Market Heights. We've met with Market Heights in the last couple of weeks with direct development, and I can tell you that the demand is extremely high. When they've got a new user coming in. When that user comes in, they will be at about, I think, 97% in terms of their leasing of that facility, and they're looking at additional ones to add on. So we may actually see some new development in direct out there on Market Heights from direct development at some point in the future. So really looking forward to that. But I can tell you that we get calls all day long now. Our planning staff is really, really swamped with things coming in for them to review. And as you drive around the city, you will see buildings coming up all over. Economic development-wise in the city, it is extremely strong. There's a lot of demand for vacant properties in the city right now.
We're going to do a tag team on this one here. So, but again, the budget, looking at our tax rate for 2022 was 0.6519 per 100 as far as the ad valorem tax rate, and that's been lowered. So in 2023, it's been lowered to 0.580. And again, a lot of the questions that people have about that, again, the taxable property continues to increase because our city continues to increase. Okay, so that gets taxed. But again, there are some things in legislation on why that drives that rate to get down to 0.58. But comparatively speaking, our rate in Harker Heights, for all the things that we're doing, comparatively is well against our municipal governments in the local area. And again, I've already talked about the DAV exemption and about those actions in the Senate and the House, but also it came out for Governor Abbott as far as his governor's military group. That DAV exemption came out as the #1 issue that needs to be addressed in Austin. So again, we're getting more traction on that issue to deal with this unfunded mandate. So you want to talk the reserves? Yeah.
Just spend a minute on our healthy reserves. You'll hear a lot of things about the Harker Heights and our reserves. We do have extremely strong reserves as a city. When I arrived here as city manager, we had strong reserves, and we've maintained those. Former city manager Steve Carpenter always said that he built those reserves up to pay for a capital project. So in other words, those parts of our reserves that are above what's encumbered. We encumber 3 months worth of operating, but anything above that's unencumbered. We could use it on whatever the city chooses to use it on. The city's original plans were to do a large capital project with that. The beauty of that is we don't have to use debt. We can pay for building a building or a roadway or whatever it is, something that's going to last the citizens a long time without having to use debt to do that. And so we do have healthy reserves, but Steve Carpenter told me at the time that the DAV exemptions were beginning to have an impact on the budget, and he said, you probably need to hold off on doing that capital project until we see kind of what the state's going to do. And we've many times gotten really close to the finish line with the state and never gotten across to get some relief from the state. So we've maintained those reserves. Can these reserves be used? You'll hear it sometimes. Can it be used to lower the tax rate? And I want you to hear it clear and loudly and clearly from me. Sure, it could be used. You need to be careful anytime you use a reserve, which is one-time monies, for something that is ongoing. At some point, you will reach a crossroads. There's no magical math about it. If you use one-time dollars to start spending on things down, like your tax rate, bringing it down, you will hit a crossroads at some point. The city and our council, in their wisdom, have chosen not to do that. That's why you see the reserves that we have. The beauty of these reserves are we could perhaps build something like Station 3 without ever having to go out for debt, which is a beautiful thing, because debt's an ongoing piece that your tax rate has to pick up and will have an impact on your tax rate going on probably a minimum of 20 years. And so having healthy reserves that we have in the city of Harker Heights has been a great thing. We mentioned earlier our winter storms. What a beautiful thing it was to have excess reserves during that time, where we had $3.8 million, and we didn't really have to blink at that. We had the money to get back out and fix those roadways because we had those reserves. And so I think as your city manager, I would tell you that having those reserves has been a very positive thing. It definitely has led to us to have an extremely high bond rating, which again is wonderful. If we do have to go out for debt, we don't have to pay as much in interest. So again, just want to cover our reserves. We do have, again, encumbered and unencumbered, but that unencumbered, I would tell you to be very careful with that. And I think it is there for the citizens to provide whatever capital projects that the citizens want without the citizens having to pay any debt in the future for it. I think that's a very healthy approach to that. So, Mayor?
Okay, that's you.
All right. I will cover the last one on there as well. We have had, again, a clean audit. That speaks to, for 26 years, that speaks to a lot of people other than myself and the staff that we have currently. But our staff that we have currently has picked that ball up and run with it. Extremely proud of them. And that kind of leads me right into this next slide of some recent awards that the city has received. Our finance department received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That comes from the Government Finance Officers Association. Our library, and if you've been involved with our library, it's no surprise to you. They received the Achievement of Library Excellence Award from the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. Our Human Resources Department has received the Gold Award from the U.S. Department of Labor, and that recognizes a commitment to hiring and retaining and developing veteran employment, as well as the We Hire Vets Texas Workforce Commission. And since 2018, the city's been recognized at that, and it recognizes Texas employers for their commitment to hiring veterans. It's a 10% requirement. I had Leona run the numbers for me. We have about 27% of our staff are veteran affiliated. So really good news there on that front. We love hiring our veterans. They make extremely good workers for the city. They serve our citizens well. And you see as well, we have one, our courts department was recognized by the Texas Municipal Education Center for receiving the Low Volume Court Award 10th year straight. I just bring these awards up just to tell you your people are doing great work. Your employees are doing great work here in the city, and they're being recognized by their peers and by their organizations for the good work that they do for you. You can be extremely proud of them. But I will go further and say we could not do this, myself and my staff, we could not achieve these things if we didn't have such a strong council. So to my council, thank you so much for what you do every day. As you know, there's an unpaid position for council. I think some people think when they come in that it is a paid position. It is not. They give of their time, and if you think they only give Tuesdays, you will be sorely disappointed if you get on the council and think you're only going to show up on Tuesdays. They are out in the community pretty much every day at something, visiting with people, and I know our mayor, probably more than any, is all over visiting with people on behalf of the city of Harker Heights. And so they give a lot of their time volunteering for their city. They obviously love their city. And again, we could not achieve these things without you. So to our council, thank you.
And so this is slide 19, so we didn't do death by PowerPoint here. So again, just to reiterate what David says, that we look to provide public services that empower people to focus on what matters most, their goals, hopes, and dreams. And one thing that we say and that we mean and that we do is that we are Team Harker Heights. And Team Harker Heights isn't just the mayor, the city council, Mr. Mitchell, his staff, but it's all the citizens who live in the city of Harker Heights. Everybody needs to pull their weight, and again, we appreciate that when you see things, let us know. Also, if you have questions about anything, that the staff is there during the week, okay? Most of the things about the ordinances, they're online, okay? A lot of that stuff is out there that is on social media, okay, to be able to provide the true information, okay? The other part that I try to stress to folks is that we, the city, we're accountable for what we say, okay? It has to be the truth, and then we can reinforce that with our ordinances and with all the directives that we have to work under. There's a lot of other nonsense that's out there. Those people aren't accountable for what they say. So again, if you want the straight scoop, Mr. Mitchell and his staff are available. All the council members are out and about to get your input. So really appreciate everybody that came out for this event today. Gina, we thank you for having that with the chamber so that we could have this today. So thank you very much, and David and I will be here afterwards to address any questions on a one-on-one basis. Thank you.
At Mountain View Productions, we want to give you and your business peak visibility.